Hey, what's going on? Back again. Got a couple questions today. All right, first one. How do you balance being creative in different areas? And I think that's a really good question. I think knowing people, a lot of them think that you just got to do one thing, and because you're good at it, you have to do it for your whole life. And I'm of the belief that you do what inspires you at that point in your life, and that's open to change. That's open to your perspective of that growing over time as you get more experienced with it, and that's natural. So, pretty much be inspired in whichever that you're doing at the moment that inspires you. If you're writing at the moment and that's what you like to do, go in at it. Learn the whole process. Learn how to complete a project with writing, to distribute it, to get feedback, to market it. And you're going to learn a whole bunch of other things about that industry. And that's the thing. When you do these things, when you do these sort of experiments and travel down these paths, the next path you go on, some of the things you learned, they're gonna be recurring themes. For instance, with DJing, I have a style to bring different songs in, to catalog pretty much a library, and I'm not DJing as much anymore. I still have a couple equipment, and I'm always keeping aware of songs. But the skill of knowing how to categorize what I'm getting by pitch, BPM, tone of the song, style, crowd, I'm able to use for this boxing documentary that I'm doing. As an editor, when we're getting the score and the soundtrack, I'm kind of looking to see which pieces are going to work where, and I can pretty much categorize that type of music with the same system. So that's something that, I probably was able to do in about a quarter of the time than if I didn't have that experience. And with writing especially, going into that process, you learn a lot of other industries too. You learn graphic design, you learn about marketing and publishing, royalties and things like that. Royalties goes in writing and music. So I just say all that to say, just go hard, really grind out the product, really be somebody who's able to learn from the whole process, because once you finish it and once you get some experience, the next thing that you get into, you're not going to know what it is, and because right now I'm doing a lot of writing and I'm doing a lot of film, I can say that I've gotten my feet pretty wet in the industry. There's still this stage that I haven't reached that I've gotten to with music, which is having a lot of solid products out, touring and networking, and getting to that second wave of being prolific. But I'm getting there, and I'm learning a lot on the way. And once I do reach that second wave, I don't know where I might go from there. I may enjoy writing more TV shows, or I may enjoy just doing commercials and music videos. Once I see what the real industry is behind it, I can just see that and still take all of the products and skills I've had in future conversations with people, or anything that you want to do in life. They can refer to you as somebody who knows how to do A, B, and C on a professional level. So that's how I balance being creative in three different areas in life. I think there's so much of the same process, and this is maybe about the fifth or sixth round of creativity I've really invested myself in. I would say, sports is like a form of creativity. Dancing, obviously. So I've tried a few different things and different styles and different ways to see myself. And I know how to kind of tackle, okay, what in my life is accepting creativity for me. When it was dancing, well, it was because I was friends with a lot of people that were dancers, so that inspired me to create with them in that way. If it's rap or music, something like that, I'm usually around a lot of artists and musicians and studios, and they're like inspiring places. They're giving me inspiring beats, and then we're just hanging out, and maybe an album gets done, And right now I'm with a lot of different people that are doing acting and film and producing, and we're all good storytellers and things like that. So that's what's inspiring me to do this right now. So it's really where you're at in your life and see what's taking your creative output. This industry, the film industry, has definitely given me a lot of output, way more than I've gotten from other industries. And that's the other thing. You kind of read what you get back from each thing that you're putting time into. I've put a lot of music and effort into music, and music gave me something back. It wasn't what I was looking for in terms of sustainability. And once you learn about the touring industry and where numbers are really coming from to sustain somebody's family, it's not pretty. And I think I have friends that would rather have an IT job than be a touring rapper. And these guys rap and make dope music. And that's just the reality because of what you see. So I put in money. Luckily, I still had a plan B. I put in to my, college and stuff. But what I learned and what I got back was, oh man, that's not a good return. So I'm trying other things. I've tried other things, and then radio's another thing. I put some creativity in, and then you look and you're like, oh, this is kind of a dying industry, or it's a transforming industry, and they haven't really figured out the new marketing of advertisement media. So I'm gonna wait a little bit on that. But then film, it was like, oh, okay, a lot of people saw a use for that. There was a high demand. There's a circuit of professionalism that's easily achievable and kind of laid out historically what you need to do. So I was like, okay, this sounds pretty, like I put a little bit in, I got a lot back, and that's how I kind of, it's kind of like dealing with relations with people socially. You want to spend time with the people that you put something into them and they give you something back, and then the ones that can give you a lot back, we're all just kind of happy people are putting into us. So when you see what you get in return, you can also manage where you should be spending your time at with people. You know what I mean? And the arts are the same way. Okay, question number 2. Okay, what was this? Okay, cohabitating. Living with a partner, roommates, or your family, making it hard to create. So they're finding when they lived by themselves, they were able to be creative, but then when they moved in with their partner, it's kind of made the time to actually be creative in their own world a little bit more difficult. And so there's a few ways that I look at this kind of situation, because I've lived in a lot of different situations too. With everybody's lived with their parents. I've lived by myself, and then I've lived with roommates and partners, and so I have noticed this. Like when you have roommates, how do you find your time to be yourself? How do you find your time to create without their feedback per se? You know what I mean? You want to be able to strum out a couple rock licks without thinking that somebody's listening or telling you to turn it down, or might have to go to sleep. Or with me in songwriting, maybe nobody wants to hear me going through the same loops of rhymes in my head while they're trying to watch the TV show next door or something. So ways around this, and person that asked this has a family, is I kind of think that, actually I like the lighting with that. I kind of think with cohabitating with people, you have to do things a little differently, because you only have so much willpower in the day. And so part of that is being used on these interactions with people. You're creating the dialogue you choose to have with them. You're creating the events you choose to do together. If you have a family or something, you're pushing a lot of things forward where you already are being really creative. So the time that you aren't actually spending on yourself being creative, you have to look at, well, you're actually creating this whole life. You're building a bigger picture of yourself in your community by cohabitating with people, and that, like, you're creating, but not in terms of a product, but the product is your day-to-day life. So you have to be cool with your roommates. You have to be cool with your parents. You have to be cool with your spouses and your kids. That takes a lot of creative effort to see what kind of people these are, and your building blocks, and responding accordingly. So to say that you're going to be tired at the end, or you don't have a place to do feedback, is completely understandable. And obviously an easy response would be to have an artist space, a studio or garage away off the campus. But not everybody has the financial place to do that. So a couple other things I was thinking was, just learn to create differently. Like I was saying, building your life is a creation of yourself. And focus on that. Like, focus on, I don't like this house that we're living in right now. Let me work on getting a new house that better fits the needs of this. Or I don't like having this many roommates. Let me work on getting something different with just this one guy or two, so learn to create like the whole lifestyle. Like, I think we should take a trip in June. Let's create that. Let's do that. And you're going to find that doing that is still engaging your creative brain. And you can still come out with products. You could record yourself doing all this, whatever you want to do, or going through the process. You could take pictures. You can just have a lot of different things. Some people may be inspired to write a book about it or something. And then another thing, that's creating differently. And then another thing that I did that's a little bit more, step one is I started waking up earlier. I started waking up before the people I was around woke up. And that's already kind of not hard for me to do, because as an adult, you see a lot of people like to kind of get their sleep, right? Because we're so tired from all this work and, spending our energy doing this other stuff that, I work an early job. So to wake up at like 7 or 6 isn't too hard for me. So I was waking up maybe 5:30 so I can have about 90 minutes to myself. And you would be amazed at what you can get done in that 90 minutes. You can work on this creating differently. You can go on a run. You can train. You can study for your next moves and your next steps. And all of that kind of leads to this movement of progress that you'll start to feel. At the time that I was doing it, I was learning about trading and cryptocurrency, and I was using that 90 minutes to pretty much educate myself and meditate and kind of train or go to the gym, so that by the time I went to work, I was cool. I had a big day. So waking up early is definitely a good way to offset the cohabitation factor. And it takes a discipline, but you're going to need discipline because you have a lot of people that you have to display something to. So it's understandable. And then to create differently, and look at creating in a different way, dealing with everything in your life. So that's all for today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll have more soon.